Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Hoven, your host of the Difference Makers podcast. This is a place where people come together that are making a difference for those who want to make a difference. And that's you. We're bringing thought leaders together in a sense of fusion where ideas and concepts and personalities are all driven together into one place at one time. And this is no different. In this episode, you're going to see cool things from cool people making a difference. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Difference Makers podcast. I hope you've been out there making a difference since the last time we got together, because you're going to want to get all kinds of amped up, juiced up, and ready for my guest today. You've seen her before, Dr. Alyson Evans, but now it's in a different context. Before we were talking about CBD, remember the CBD conversation? Mm-hmm. And she's had such a radical innovation in her company and what she's been doing, the things that she's found out that has really layered on top of the CBD conversation, that I had to have her back to share with you what's going on now in the world of infrared. So we're going to talk about that. We might talk about business. This is going to be a great conversation because she and I, we can talk for hours about anything. This just happens to be her passion and something that I'm learning more about every day. So without further ado, I want to welcome Dr. Alyson Evans back to the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, I know
really
you are busy, mom of 3 crazy kids, doing stuff all the time and taking care of a company that's growing like mad. Catch me up. What's been going on?
Yeah, we've been making moves for the business over the past couple of years, and really, you know me, it's like I look for an opportunity in a market that we could go innovate, disrupt it a little. I like to disrupt a market a little bit and then educate, right? So taking the medical background with product innovation and throwing it in a blender. And probably a couple years ago, I really saw an opportunity with all the red light and, light sort of devices that were out there. I was seeing it just kind of explode in the internets of the world, the social media aspects of the world. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go learn about this. And I did. And I saw a really great opportunity for us as a company to go talk about something that is foundational to our core, which is to kind of talk about these natural alternative ways to heal that most often are very connected to how our ancestors healed and got better, and then meshing up science with it and bringing it to the world. So we are in the red light therapy space and continuing to innovate and going into a bunch of other product markets too. But for the past year and a half, we have just exploded as a company, teaching people about red light, near infrared light, sunlight, why and what we need when it comes to light as a nutrient for our body.
I love that. And it is a nutrient.
It is a nutrient.
I want to take one step back, Alyson, before all of this started. You're a chiropractor by training. You and I worked together for many years.
Yep.
And what was it? And people can go check out more of the detailed story from our last episode together on CBD if they want to go search that one out. And we'll leave a show note as to what episode that was. But what is it that made you transition from being a healer with your hands versus a healer by offering healing through products and services in a company? What was that transition stimulus for you?
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but I honestly think it was always that I never felt like I needed to be the healer with the hands. I wanted to share information. I like empowering people with information to care for themselves. That's like the number one thing I'm most passionate about. So even when I was in practice, I would love going and giving talks and bringing people into the clinic. But then the most exciting thing for me, which is an interesting part of business, would be them leaving, would be saying like, okay, I've given you everything you need. You've got the tools, like check in with me, if you need help in the future. And so that has carried on for decades now, and it's a big part of Fringe, the company that I've, been with for the past few years, which is that a lot of healing and health, we look to others to provide it for us. And it's all at our fingertips or within us.
Yes.
And so just helping people realize like the biggest changes you can make in your health are going to come from you, not from,
the outside,
not from even the best doctors in the world. Dr. Hoven's one of the best doctors in the world, but he doesn't stand a chance to help you like helping yourself through your daily habits, routines,
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
It's so true, yeah.
Do you remember, I'm sure you were taught this as well, in China at one time, and I don't know if this is still the case, doctors got paid to keep you well.
Yeah.
And when you were unwell, then they were treating you for free because their job was to be counselors and advisors of the information like what you're talking about.
Yep.
Guides. I love that. And I think now as you and I if we put on our provider hat for a second, we play a really critical role when someone doesn't know the information, or most commonly, even if they do it, they ignore it. We don't do what we know. People know to exercise. People know to get sleep. People know to manage their stress, but either they don't prioritize it or they let other things get in the way. Maybe it gets convoluted. So then people like us and any other provider type have to come in when the situation gets a little more urgent, if you will.
Yeah, and I think there's always a place for us because we all need accountability, and many of us within a health framework, it's not easy. Like the crazy thing about feeling good is it's simple, but it's not easy.
Love that.
It's very simple, but it's not easy because the world that we live in has changed so much, and I think the thing for us at Fringe is that there's too much information now. So for us to be a trusted source of information where people really trust us to unpack red light therapy. If you're going to go spend $2, $3, $4, $1,000 on this red light therapy unit for your home, who do you trust to give you the information, the good, the bad, the ugly, the science, the history? And that's really what we've been doing. And it's really resonating with people, that we're really honest, we're really transparent, we're super nerdy, which I think people appreciate.
That's right. I know I appreciate it.
Natural and nerdy.
I love that. Let's talk about red light now. Let's kind of transition into the technology. You did such a great job explaining when we did our last show together about CBD and all of the different sources we have and the receptors in our bodies and all that stuff. Tell us about the need for light and if it's a color thing with frequencies and all the rest. Why is red light versus blue or green? Give us the lowdown.
The lowdown about light.
Yeah.
It's
light lowdown.
It's a very compelling story that has been around for thousands of years. We just now have to think about something that our ancestors just took for granted. It was a part of their everyday life. So sunlight literally powered the universe that we live in, but it powers all plants, animals, and humans. And I don't think we've ever thought of it that way. If anything, the past 30, 40 years, we've sort of been taught to be scared of the sun. And so in the simplest form, the sun provides us energy. It provides plants energy to live, just like it provides us energy to live, just like it provides animals energy to live. There's a reason why plants need sunlight, why animals bask in it. And the thing for humans is our processing, and the information that we get. We've sort of turned away from something that is quite intuitive, which is that we feel better when we've had a lot of sunlight. We look better when we've had a lot of sunlight. In general, our bodies work better when we've had a lot of sunlight. So the sun essentially provides energy to the cells in our body. That's the way to think of it. So without a lot of sunlight, it's like running on one bar on your telephone or something like that. It's like a very low energized being. The sun actually provides us 5 types of what they call bioactive light, meaning the light specifically from the sun changes our biology or our physiology inside of us. And we've heard of all the types of light. It's just interesting the story that we're told. So probably one of the biggest ones is blue light. The sun provides us blue light in the day. Blue light's essential for us to be alive. Blue light actually stimulates. So as the sun comes up in the morning and starts to become bright, blue light is the main part of the sunlight that we receive. It stimulates cortisol, which you need to be alive, and you need to produce energy, and you need to be productive. It motivates. Think of it as like a motivational hormone. So throughout the day, cortisol needs to be high. The thing is, we think of cortisol as a stress hormone. And so the issue with blue light is that most of us get blue light from artificial sources after the sun has gone down. So blue light actually is incredibly antibacterial, antimicrobial. We put it in our face masks for our light face masks for acne and blemishes, and super good for our skin complexion. The other lights that we hear a lot about from the sun would be UVB and UVA lights, which definitely get a bad rap. But UVB light is really the main way that our body synthesizes vitamin D, which is essential for all health inside of our body. So UVB light is another bioactive light. Far infrared is another bioactive light, and that's the warmth that we feel from the sun, and that warming effect on our body actually can change some of the proteins inside of our cells, and think of it as like strengthening your cells. So that far infrared is a bioactive light too. The other two that we'll talk about would be red light and near infrared light. Those two comprise 42% of the sun's energy or wavelengths. So they're about half of the sun's wavelengths, don't have any concerns or cautions with them, extremely healing. And when they are absorbed through our skin or viewed through our eyes, they have incredible health benefits. So once I dove into it all and then came out and realized, okay, the solution here is that we get more sunlight. But I also live in a world where I sit inside all day and work, and I'm not going to change that. I don't have an outdoor office. I'm not going to just start farming as a profession. So this is where it's like, I'm not interested in fighting the modern world. We live in it. I'm interested in figuring out how we can help. So solution number one is getting more sunlight. Sunlight in the morning, incredible for us. Sunlight in the later part of the day, incredible for us. And then option two is to go supplement or fortify the sun, and using red light therapy, which is both red and near infrared wavelengths from the sun, is a very safe, very healing way. And when those, think of it as like the sun shoots off these tiny little balls of energy that they travel all the way. And when they hit our skin, they're absorbed. We view them, through the retina in the back of our eyes, which has an effect on our body. And the health benefits the list is, infinite, because sun is an essential nutrient for our body. There's nothing we can replace it with. I can't go to the gym more. I can't eat better. My cells in my body, when they receive that little ball of energy, of light from the sun, they improve how they work. So my cells become more energized. It doesn't matter if that's a cell in my skin, in my liver, in my lungs, in my bones, tendons, joints, heart, blood, lymphatics, all the cells in our body are energized through light.
Is that combined with the earthing concept? So I know earthing it's not a sun thing, but it's now
it's not a sun thing, but it's receiving a frequency
from now the earth, from the inside out, and sun is from the outside.
And sun is light frequency. Correct. Right? Versus, and it's funny because sound is a frequency, and the earth definitely has a magnetic frequency that we can receive through it as well, which I'll probably be on a podcast in the future talking about.
Absolutely. I fell into the earthing thing. And so, I got a little pillowcase to try to do all this and that. So that's not what we're talking about today.
But it's the same concept, which is like we are new. Like we as humans, as modern humans and modern medicine and technology, we are very new. Our bodies respond better to how we were for thousands of years, right? So just to be able to spend time on the earth with our bare feet and to receive sunlight every single day, that is how our physiology is designed.
Absolutely.
So it's hard for people to grasp that modern living is like this tiny little blip in this span of humans being around for so long, basically eating what the earth provides, being outside all day and moving all day. And as crazy as that sounds, the only other thing they did that we've lost touch with is that they had a tremendous sense of community. They ate food from the earth, they moved all day, they received light, they drank water from the earth that was full of minerals and that we don't have in our water now. So it's just, that is how our bodies respond. And it seems so simple, like I said, but it's not easy.
Right. Because our lifestyle has changed from our natural tendencies as a species that was going through space and time.
Yeah. So anyway, red and near infrared light is, you can make red and near infrared light. 20 some odd years ago, I had a red and near infrared light laser in clinic, and someone would sprain an ankle and I would treat their ankle with the laser, and laser technology dominated the light therapy space for like 30, 40, 50 years, really. What's happened is technology has disrupted the market, which I love. I loved this part of learning that LED lights can deliver the same wavelengths that laser lights can deliver. It's just a wavelength, just like the sun. We measure those little balls of energy in what they call wavelengths. So does the wavelength little? Is it big? Essentially, the best way to look at it is the bigger the wavelength, the more heat that is generated from that little photon of energy or light from the sun. So when I was looking at this, I was like, this is amazing because LED technology is way more affordable. It generates the same wavelengths of light. And the thing that what I wanted to know, because it seemed intuitively better to me than a laser, is that it's lower intensity. You have to use it more regularly and for a little bit longer periods of time. A laser, you have to think of it as like a laser beam of light, higher intensity, more, shorter period of time. The researchers who've been researching this category, for 40, 50 years, basically concluded that LED red light therapy has very similar outcomes to going and getting laser red light therapy. It's just that the dosage or how you deliver the light is different. It's lower intensity for longer periods of time. So instead of 2 minutes, at a high intensity, it's 20 minutes at a low intensity. When I dove into it, what I wanted to know is how could we make lights that are very similar to the sun? Because I really intuitively knew that would be how our body best responds. And then to summarize, thousands of research papers, it's also validated with the science that our body responds best to intensity of light that is similar to the sun.
So what do you think about this? The two things that I remember as we were using lasers together in clinic is there were even different types of lasers, right? Class 2, class 4, this and that. And the big deal was the depth of penetration of the laser.
Yeah.
And so now we're talking about a broader scope delivery system. Are we talking about that it's going less penetration? And then if so, how does that affect the layers deeper within the body as opposed to just at this, so that you can affect the liver from here as opposed to a deep, laser thing?
That was the best part. I mean, honestly, and because red light therapy has been studied for like 50, 60 years, there's so much research that you don't have to just rely on intuition or clinical observation or opinion. You get to just go into the science and say, that's not how light works. So a laser can definitely penetrate deeper, but it's going to be a very small surface area. Red light is like 5 millimeters of penetration. Near infrared light, about 10 millimeters of penetration. Laser could be upwards of 15, 20 millimeters of penetration. But all that matters is the light is absorbed through your skin.
Because it's going systemic.
It scatters. Yeah, light, when you look at how light works once it's absorbed through your skin, it scatters. And its effect, I could put light over my shin and affect the oxygen carrying capacity of my red blood cells.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, so
that was my next question.
Right. So it is systemic because there's free floating mitochondria, this little powerhouse that is typically inside of our cells. Well, those float freely in our blood and they can receive that light photon and energize. So I can have a systemic effect. They looked at, this was just a recently published study where they did a red light therapy wrap on someone's upper back and it lowered their blood glucose. So it lowered their blood sugar by putting red light therapy over their trap. That's how we understand light is not going to work, that a tiny little beam in one little location is going to be the most beneficial. That's not how we are designed. So when it comes to LED, red light therapy, the thing that I've loved is that the outcomes clinically are the same as laser, way more affordable, way more safe because there's no heating issue, no potential burn. And you cover a nice big area. So yes, you get the local effect on your knee if you were, let's say, treating your knee, but you also get a systemic effect because you've got a much bigger surface area. And so it's comfy. The near infrared light can have a little bit of warmth to it, not a ton. So it's not hot, but it's like a very comfortable sunny day. That's how it feels. So people love doing it and the benefits are incredible. So the categories are very vast. The most common would be pain and inflammation, performance, recovery. But then there's questions that come in every week, and we do a lot of education on it, where we could talk about gut health and brain health and women's health and bone health and liver health. And I mean, we just go on. And the best part is I get to just go to everything that's been published and say, why not try it? There is no downside. If you can be in the sun for 20 minutes, You can try LED red light therapy, and here's the potential upside, of what else it could help, when you're going down that road.
Tell me about this then, because, I still dabble in the healthcare side, even though my stuff is more on the business side at this point. But I've heard about these incredibly complicated and sophisticated red light full body machines that can go upwards of $100,000.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And so they have made their way and made some traction with some folks like even Joe Rogan and some of these other folks talk about those and having them at their homes and this and that.
It's like a tanning bed for red light therapy.
And so what's the difference between, especially if we get a systemic effect with a local application, what's the difference of one of those $100,000 machines? And is it an order of magnitude of help difference?
It's just about the amount of light and the amount of surface area of light that you get. So it's newer. There's 6 or 7 published studies on full body photobiomodulation, which is what it's called, or full body red light therapy. And I think the benefits will continue to be proven over time, meaning for systemic chronic pain, systemic diseases, so on and so forth. I think that full body red light therapy is beneficial. It's just not attainable for a lot of people. Right. So to say the main difference is about $100,000 is the main difference, because when you're at home, to be able to have, just a wrap, that covers a nice surface area, maybe it's your gut, maybe it's your back, maybe it's over your chest, or, a sore joint, you can move that around. You can have it in different places. The key is sort of starting to think, hey, every day I could supplement light. Where do I want to put it? Where it could be helping me with things that I'm struggling with or need support. That's a good way to think about light therapy. Is there an area of your body that could use support? And people ask me all the time, well, what if, nothing's really hurting? Then I always say, put it on the gut. Your
Why the gut?
It's your basis of your immune system.
Because you think that it will have an impact on the gut itself and the microbiome? And
the microbiome, it's been proven to balance the beneficial bacteria, increase beneficial bacteria levels in the gut, but also then just you're so rich in blood supply and lymphatics in your gut, and it really has this incredible ability to communicate, obviously, with so many other areas of your body. So
do you place it right on the skin?
Right on the gut, always on the skin.
Okay, so it wouldn't go over a shirt. You would put it directly on the skin.
Directly on the skin.
Okay.
Yep.
You brought one.
Yep.
Will you show it to us?
Yep, absolutely. So this is just this one is one of our wraps. We make all sorts of wraps now. My favorite wrap is our head wrap, which we could talk about, but this one is just a big surface area. This one's really made for like spine, shoulder, larger areas. So when
is there infrared?
So each little light here has 3 chips in it. One is red, which is the more superficial, and 2 of them are near infrared. The reason we did more near infrared, which is kind of unique to us, is that there's a lot more studied on it. It has a lot more health benefits, and I think it's probably because it has a bit of a deeper absorption.
Now, would I be getting any benefit from this at this distance, or does it have to be in contact?
This is a low intensity wrap. It's going to be most effective at skin contact for full absorption. We make panels that are much brighter, kind of like the lights we're looking at here, that are much brighter, that you can get a benefit from being farther away, but this intensity of light is going to be best at skin absorption. So what we do, everything we make now, we sort of retro engineer it to be the sun's intensity of red and near infrared light. So if we make a higher powered panel and you stand 10 inches in front of it, you're still getting the sun's intensity of light, which has a measurement, and we just try to match it. But this is lower intensity, but because I'm in contact, I get more light absorption. Right. Because anytime there's distance between a light source and the target, you're going to lose a lot of light. That's how
it's going to leak.
That's how light works. Yep. Yeah, it's very wild. So this has a 10-minute or a 20-minute timer in it. I just put it over my skin, essentially, wherever I need support. I'm going to feel a little bit of warmth using it regularly. What would be the frequency?
Is there too much that you can do?
We tell people, just when you understand the effects of light on the body, it's best to use over one area once a day. And
would that be one knee once a day?
One knee once a day. Could I move it to my back? Absolutely. What happens locally when we apply red light therapy is a few things. Yes, the cells become energized, but the cascade of events is all how our body naturally heals. So here's the cool thing. When our body needs to heal, we always increase blood flow to an area. We charge up the cells that need to be in the area and be doing a job. So think of it as, if I had an injured knee, one of the cells that would be charged up would be a fibroblast. A fibroblast makes collagen to help repair tissue. So we have increased blood flow to the area. Anytime we have increased blood flow, we have increased oxygen to an area. But we also have all these cells that are going to be responsible for healing, charged up and doing a better job. What we know is that those cells, their activity can be 24 to 48 hours. Like one of the chemicals that's released and is so cool to study with red light therapy is nitric oxide. So I see increased nitric oxide levels after one application of red light therapy. That marker can be elevated 24 to 48 hours. Wow. So what we want is the stimulus to the body, and then the body to have the time to strengthen and respond before there's another stimulus, kind of like exercise.
Correct.
They call it a hormetic, effect, where you want a low grade stress
disruption.
Yeah, for the body to strengthen. So we know now that the cells, yes, they are energized. So they increase blood flow, increase tissue oxygen, increase collagen production, a whole cool slew of things go on, but that we also know that the cellular response can strengthen over time, which is even cooler to think cool. Like
an adaptive stress, that
an
hermetic
adaptive
stress that you're talking about.
It's amazing. And so it's sunlight. It really is just sunlight, but you're doing it in a way that you're fortifying it and obviously, using a technology.
So just for clarification again, let's say someone has left knee pain and low back pain.
Yep, once a day.
Once a day each, or what? Today,
once a day
knee,
each.
Tomorrow. So
once a day each.
No more than one application per area, but you could do multiple areas per day.
Yes, and most people do, just because it feels so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can feel that. It's just got a little bit of warmth coming off of it.
Yeah,
it's
just
really
nice,
comfortable.
Gentle
warmth.
Gentle warmth.
Yeah,
and
it's not a heat treatment. So if I had a far infrared wrap, it would be hot. Far infrared is a far infrared sauna. It delivers heat, but it's not a light effect on the body. It's not light as a nutrient. That's a heat effect on the body.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because we have a sauna, right? Now, we don't have an infrared sauna. We have one of the stone saunas, but we talk a lot about infrared saunas, and that's the difference. It's far infrared.
It's far infrared. So it's changing, it's creating a heat response inside your cells. So something called heat shock proteins are responding to the far infrared. This is a light stimulus.
Man, and so cool. Look at this. It's so cool.
It's so cool.
All these lights. Do you figure out how many per square inch? Like, is there a formula on how many go in the density of the thing?
Yeah, I was just trying to get a combo of making wraps, that are a couple $100. So it's really valuable. It's not thousands of dollars, because red light therapy, some of the companies are thousands of dollars. Yeah. So it's very accessible for people. When it's in direct skin contact like this, you need a nice uniform display of light. And so these, this one has 120 or 120 of these lights, or 360 of these little LED light chips.
Because each one has three.
Each one has three.
Chips.
Yeah, it's a lot. This is a nice big surface area. This goes incredible on your back, your shoulder. This is even still like a great application over gut and chest and.
So what about durability or longevity? Like if someone buys this, because this is what people think, right? They go, oh, well, if it's cheap, it must not work. And when you're in this disruptive space of saying, okay, we've got a $100,000 unit, we've got a $47 unit, and then we've got a $200 or $300 unit. What can someone expect if they were to purchase this? How long would it last before the lights would quote unquote burn out?
Yeah, that's what every day someone asks us, what's the difference between this and what's on Amazon? And then what's the difference between this and the $4,000, panel I'm seeing? And I say, yeah, right about that. So the stuff on Amazon, what matters to me is that people understand that there is safe ways to go make technology. And once I learned all that, I was like, oh, well, this is kind of common sense, but I had never thought about it before when I was going to purchase healthcare technology. So the quality of the LED lights matters a lot. You can have really cheap quality of LED lights, and then these LEDs will be the first thing that conks out, on a device. So I would guess some of the cheaper stuff on Amazon doesn't have the longevity to it. The space right now is, for when it comes to wraps like this, most of them are plugged in. And anytime you plug something in, you essentially create electromagnetic frequencies.
And you apply it plugged in?
a lot of the spaces you apply the wraps plugged in.
Okay, got
I
it.
didn't want to do that because what we do know is those man-made electromagnetic frequencies can have, some people can be very sensitive to them,
Yes.
and they can have negative effects on their health. So we made all of the wraps powered by lithium polymer batteries. So this is a chemical reaction making energy to power this up, which is just better for you. So the answer to this is that these lights will outlive you. These are LED technology lights. They will outlive all of us. The battery will be the first thing to go. This wrap here, for an example, would have thousands of uses, probably 3,000-4,000 uses before the battery is at 80% of its life.
Wow.
So the truth is there's a lot of value when a company can tell you all those things.
Yes.
But most cannot tell you all those things. So, and then we also, tell people, hey, we third-party test all of our products. So we make sure that what we're telling you is what we actually deliver. So the intensity of light matters a lot to us. People make red light too powerful, and then the effect can be too stressful. It can generate burns, but also be a thermal effect, which is not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a light effect.
Right, yes.
And that we verified the wavelengths, the specific, measurement of light that comes out of these, and we test them and we provide that for people.
Man, that's great.
I know.
So what are the other applications of the light that you have? So you talked about this big one. Do you have
Yep.
different sizes and that
Yeah,
kind of
so we
thing?
have probably 7 or 8 different wraps, all different sizes, one for the knee, just different body areas. Probably
Yes.
my favorite one, which I don't know why I didn't bring it. This is a bad podcast move, is our head wrap. So you'll see a lot of people wearing red light therapy caps, and most of them do it for hair growth. So we now know that the hair follicle cells...
Oh, get me 2 of those,
I know.
baby. Look
I'm
at
gonna-
this thing. It's not
I'm gonna-
going anywhere
you know
but
what?
that way.
Consider it done. There will be one sent to you. We heard it here first when he's got a Bob Ross set of hair on the
Ross.
next podcast. But they do. So red light therapy has been FDA approved for pain and inflammation. That's an easy one. But red light therapy has also been FDA approved for hair growth, fine lines, wrinkles, acne, and fat loss. So the fact that a governing body would look at the body of research available and say, yes, you can say those claims was shocking to me. So
Yeah.
the hair growth one, I was looking at all of the head helmet things. They were quite uncomfortable. I ordered a bunch. And then I just started reading about brain health. And we do make this amazing head wrap, and it's incredible for hair growth. It basically helps the hair follicle cells stimulate hair growth. So it takes like 90 to 120 days.
And do it once a day, 20 minutes?
Once a day, 20 minutes. But the bonus, which shouldn't be considered a bonus, is that the effects of light through our forehead and through our head for brain health are exceptional and published for even in healthy individuals for cognition and memory, for brain fog, for dementia, for Alzheimer's, for Parkinson's, for MS, for ADHD, for autism. The list goes
Wow.
on, and the positive benefits are shocking.
And does it matter, Alyson, on some of those neurodegenerative diseases when they apply the therapy as opposed
Some
to like in an
people-
advanced condition versus
Yeah.
early?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I do it every day now for memory cognition because I do have dementia and Alzheimer's in our family. But my mom, who has been diagnosed with dementia, uses it daily. And what I can say is that we've seen everything slowing and her perception of how much it's helping, And so when it comes to a neurodegenerative category, there's no wrong time to start, that's for sure. But the outcomes or the experience of the patient is really impressive. The Parkinson's research, there's been a lot. We get most light absorption through our forehead because there's no hair, but it's also just really, a very densely vascular area and able to deliver light through,
Did you know this?
through
I
the
wanted-
bone. Light can go through the bone.
I
It's
wanted to share
fascinating.
something with you that just hit me. You and I are both fans of a guy named Andrew Huberman.
Yes, we are.
Right?
Yep.
And that's where I first heard of all this light
All the
therapy.
light, yeah,
I mean,
he's-
I
yeah.
did, you know me, I used to do a lot of social media video to just
Yeah,
try to give a
yes.
positive impact and this and that. And I did one on light, getting light at the beginning of the day, no
Yep.
sunglasses,
Yep.
10 to 30 minutes. It got over 1 million views of people going, really? I don't think so. And I did a lot of referral back to that
Yeah.
podcast. Like, look, don't take my word for it. Go listen.
He
to
still
Andrew
talks
Huberman.
about it. I mean, it's
1,000%.
it's our relationship with light has to change. That's what
Yes.
the message is, and it will continue to be, because for thousands of years, we woke up with the sun and we went to bed with the sun. And the interesting thing about red light therapy that I think shocks a lot of people is I think it's, you sort of look at this and you go, oh yeah, like that light is going to absorb through her skin, and all of these crazy benefits, even for our skin, you know, where we've been sort of programmed to think like sun is bad for your skin. Red and near infrared light is incredible for anti-aging, sunspots, wrinkles, all these sorts of benefits. But then there's this entirely different category of red light therapy, which is what Huberman talks a lot about. We make red light therapy panels, you know, so they're very big and bright and they can illuminate an entire room. And in the wintertime, we sell a lot of those panels because we basically educate people, hey, listen, here becomes the issue. If you're having no light exposure day over day over day, it can greatly affect your circadian rhythm. And everybody thinks your circadian rhythm is just when you go to bed and when you wake up. But everything inside of us has a rhythm. All of our hormones that are responsible for how we feel, how we sleep, and how we perform have a rhythm. And that rhythm works with the sun. So a great example would be, he talks a lot about this, that seeing sun in the beginning of the day is really an incredible way for you to regulate your body's natural melatonin production. Meaning, I see sun in the morning, it stimulates cortisol for the day, but then it also helps regulate that kick in of melatonin production later in the day. When the sun goes down, my body is supposed to bump up melatonin on its own when the sun goes down. It's interesting because it's the darkness that stimulates the melatonin. It's the absence of light that tells our body time to make melatonin, time for bed. Because for thousands of years, that's how our bodies worked. So in the day, I see light, I stimulate cortisol, I go produce, I have energy. That's when I'm producing. And then as the light goes down, my body stimulates melatonin and says, rest and digest, relax,
and the same
go
thing
to
with
bed.
Dopamine, right?
Like, same thing with dopamine, but it's the same thing with so many of our, sex hormones as well. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, human growth hormone is a really great example too. They all have these rhythms that are regulated by the light. And so what we tell people, that you can use red light therapy as a light supplement in your home. So in the evenings, when the sun goes down, instead of having artificial lights on in your home, bright blue artificial lights, you can use the red light, which is more like a campfire or a fire. That is actually, fire and sun are the only natural forms of red light therapy. And we cued our bodies to see these red wavelengths of light in our lower visual field for thousands of years around fire. And it's fascinating that that actual stimulus still exists. So I can put a red light unit down on the ground in a room in my lower visual field, and those red wavelengths of light make their way to my eyes, and my eyes not seeing blue light anymore. It's a lower calming wavelength and supports melatonin production.
Beautiful. And the other thing about the forehead, it's the forehead, the palms, and the undersides of the feet, is the anastomosis of the vessels. Like you said, got tons of vessels, but that's where they're all coming together between arteries and veins. And now if you want to cool someone down or heat someone up, putting heat or ice on those three areas does a mad thing. So if someone's suffering from a thermal injury, that's how you would help them. But what I'm taking from that is if you put light on that same thing, because the near proximity to this same arterial venous connection, you're gonna hit that mitochondria a lot more directly.
One of literally we could talk about this forever, but one of the cascade of events that happens when the cells are energized, which would make more sense in a healing mode, our body is going to circulate both blood and lymphatics, but it's also going to connect. So we see angiogenesis, or the formation of small blood vessels, with the use of red light therapy, which is fascinating when it comes to healing really significant injuries inside of a body. The fact that the body can form new blood vessels is amazing. The really, I think, part that people don't, because there's so many cool things red light therapy does, but one of the avenues that it does do is it's detoxifying in a sense. It basically helps moderate oxidative stress. And so we see that reactive oxygen species production is moderated or regulated with the use of red light therapy. So that matters in things like brain health, when we know certain neuroinflammatory or neurodegenerative diseases can have a lot of toxic waste built up in an area, and the red and near infrared light therapy has been shown to moderate that stress and be able to essentially detox. And so some of the studies, when they actually see less plaquing with use of red and near infrared light therapy in the brain, it is shocking.
And is that one applied to the head, or is that
applied to the head?
So with the cap that you've created, that same kind of thing. Here's something interesting. We did a show recently with someone on neurofeedback, right? And so it's it came out recently before this episode, and they tested me. So they put all the goo in my hair and do the thing and check it out. And literally, she gave my results to me. Yeah. Sitting in that chair. I didn't hear it. I didn't want to know. And she told me, you know how to meditate. I can tell you know how to meditate because when I asked you to do this, you went into alpha. But she said, do you fall asleep really fast? I said, yeah, I fall asleep really fast. She goes, how do you sleep? I said, well, if I get up after 3, it's pretty much game over.
We know this.
And
been you and me forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
She goes, you're too active all the time. It's all about achievement and this and that and that. And I'm like, yeah, and? And she's like, no, like it shouldn't be that fired up all the time. It's too amped up. It should be down, is me boiling all this down. And I'm wondering if you had something like this on, would it help regulate? If it can change plaquing, would something like this be similar to the neurofeedback type situation where it's increasing, blood flow and movement and circulation?
Increasing blood flow.
It's fascinating.
A lot of the transcranial or head uses of red and near infrared light therapy are used to improve sleep quality and sleep quantity, as well as depression, seasonal affective disorder, PTSD. So there is the whole mental health category, and then there's the whole brain health category. Probably the most fascinating studies, because they're hard to study, is healthy individuals.
Yes.
And when they look at healthy individuals with transcranial red light therapy and seeing improvements in memory, recall.
Over what time? Does it take
6-week time frame?
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Shocking.
Yeah.
So this is what's really fun. All of the years of wanting to make cool products and then educate people, it's really different when you jump into a category and you realize there's so much science to support you. So for me and you, I've always had a strong intuition about what's right for us. That the body heals itself, that we need to remove. It's a lot of removing. It's not a lot of adding. And so that intuition is really weird when you compare that up with this is amazing. Over and over and over again, people continue to publish research on red and near infrared light therapy. And every single time it's intuitive. It's like less intensity is better. Replicate the sun, low and slow, regular exposure to light. Everything Dr. Huberman talks about. It's like, that's common sense because that connects us to how we are designed to be interacting with the environment we live on, which is...
We just went for 20 minutes.
We just went for 20 minutes.
We had the auto... The auto feature works.
The auto feature.
Hey, let me ask you this kind of as we wind up, because it is so fascinating. You have really blown my mind with all this, because I have, like I say, dabbled in the understanding.
Yeah.
But just like with CBD, you opened my eyes to this. Because you guys are still doing CBD as part of it, that still has all the validity that it had and all the same science.
Yeah.
Do these things combine in some way?
Yeah. CBD balances a system inside of us that is like a communication system. And so when people are really out of balance inside of their body, CBD is incredible for regulating sort of this internal cellular communication system. Light is about energizing, our cells. So to me, everything that we talk about at Fringe and will talk about at Fringe does relate to some connection we've had with nature. With CBD, it's a plant. It's a hemp plant that we utilize for thousands of years for food, nutrition, medicine, and industrial. When it comes to red light, we're talking about light. We're really talking about sunlight and how it works with us. We now have entered into making a whole line of supplements. So we're making mineral-rich electrolyte powders, magnesium powders, mushroom powders.
And they're your formulations.
Our formulations in doing the exact same thing, which is going back and saying, what was all of this before we started messing around with it? So what was in our water before we started filtering everything out of it, and learning, well, you can find that information out. And it's like our waters were rich in minerals and electrolytes and salts. And so learning how to go back and formulate like that, understanding that, when we went down this road of making magnesium, what we're trying to do now is help people simplify. So the supplement world is like, you feel like you need to take 1 million of them. And I know it's not true. And so what I wanted to be able to do is be kind of honest and transparent with people about what is essential with modern day living. You know, what aren't we getting in our soils and our water and through light that we could supplement with? And vitamin D is one of those. We do not get enough UVB light to stimulate the vitamin D production.
Which is like a hormone, essentially.
It's a hormone, yeah, essentially. And so that's one of the ones we've been formulating. And so, yeah, right now we have this really cool electrolyte mineral powder that's very similar to how water was intended to be, which is full of micronutrients. And I don't think people realize it was full of, you know, calcium and potassium and magnesium and all these trace minerals that we would intake in very low quantities throughout the day. Not like what we do now, which is drinking all this water that's dead. It's like empty water, you know, it doesn't hydrate our body or our cells or our function. And magnesium is interesting because one of the fascinating stats is that our fruits and vegetables just 30 years ago had 90% more magnesium in them. So our soils are completely depleted of magnesium.
Yes.
And so supplementing magnesium is something now that we call essential, but it's going to come down to this: light, movement, nutrients, and community. Those are essential. Those are what you need to live. And how can we go make products that...
Man, that is so good. And you know what? I'm so glad you're part of my community. You guys, if you've watched this and paid any degree of attention, you should be glad she's in your community too, because now you have a resource to get at least a couple of things when she talks about, you know, is it light, is it movement, is it nutrients, or is it community? If you can supplement those however it comes, through your own means or something from the outside, it's going to change your world. So Alyson, as we sign off, how can people get a hold of you, learn more about Fringe, learn more about these products?
FringeHeals.com is our website. It's also our social handles at Fringe Heals. We're very active on Instagram, and we're as nerdy as it gets there. So if you want to go watch a bunch of videos of us talking about all sorts of stuff, you would head to our social channels and visit us there.
Man, this has been a great time. Every time I get to be with you, it's just warms
back.
my heart. Warms my heart. Yep, we're going to be back again.
Yep.
And so in the meantime, if you guys like this, would you give it a 5-star review? Also subscribe, like, share with your friends, do all the things, because we want to help people in the world that don't have this information. And what we do, our job is to help make a difference. And the way we do that is by guests like Alyson and others, and, you know, with the things that she's come up with and that she's doing, it's going to affect a lot of people. So please share the message. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. And until we talk next time, keep making a difference.